After you watch this video, you're going to be able to fix and diagnose every single type of tire leak that there is. But that means that this video will only apply to people who have tires on their cars. Okay. The first step in learning how to fix and diagnose every single type of tire leak is to first identify if your tires are leaking. The proper way to do this, to actually find out if your tires are leaking, is to use a tire pressure gauge. Because we're going to figure out if the tire pressures are low, which makes sense. If they're low, then the tire is leaking. That's common sense. Before you actually go out and check your tire pressures, you got to know what your tire specifications are. And so the best place to go for that, in my opinion, is to open the driver's door and you will see a sticker in there. It's a lovely sticker, beautiful. It has all this sorts of information on it. And it is called a tire placard. You can see your tire size, but what we're looking at here is your tire pressure specifications. And you can see the front is 32. The rear is also 32 and the spare is also 32 psi. Now we know what our tire specs are. If you can't find your tire placard sticker, you can always look in your owner's manual as well. But basically now what we're going to do is we're going to go around the car and measure each tire's individual pressure. And you want to make sure your tool isn't doing this. As you can see that there's air leaking past the tool, you're not going to get a proper reading, so make sure it's sealed on there nice. You might find your leak on the first tire, but you don't want to count out the rest of them. So make sure you check each one. And then eventually you might find a tire that is low on air, and that's going to be your suspect tire. So what I like to do at this point is I actually like to take the tire off the vehicle and get a proper visual inspection of it. And the best tool in the world for tire leaks is soap and water, and I put it in a spray bottle, and that's it. That's a combination right there. You will be a tire leak god with just this right here, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're spraying soapy water on an area that you think might be leaking air, the air is gonna rush past the soapy water and create bubbles. Okay, so now we're gonna go through all these several different types of tire leaks and how you can fix them, or at least know how to deal with them. So shall we do that, Lou? Before I go through all these different types of leaks, I need you guys to understand one thing. This is something that you don't want to just rush to conclusions with and just try to fix it to whatever you think it might be. You want to be 100% sure that whatever is leaking is the source. You don't want to just guess and then try to fix it and then it's still leaking at the end of the day, because it's a headache alone to have a flat tire. To fix it right the first time, that's the goal, that's the mission. So the soap and water is all you need. It's really all you need to figure out what kind of leak you have. That's what you need. That's what I'm going to use for each type of tire leak. We're going to go through all of them right now. The first one is the most common, and it is the nail, or really anything that pierces through your tire. So this right here is a very touchy subject because you can't repair everything that pierces through your tire. It has to be in a certain area. So if it is somewhere here where it's like, you know, the middle of the tire, it's fine. That's totally repairable. You can do that. But when it gets to the shoulders, well, some people still repair it. I personally don't like to. There's a lot of flexing that happens. There's a lot of stretching and flexing in that part of the tire. So at that point, I feel like I would recommend a tire for the customer if it is leaking from that area. If it's leaking from the sidewall, unfortunately, you can't repair that at all, right? You cannot repair sidewall damage. You need a new tire. You have to replace it.
Game over, man.
So sometimes it's easy to find the nail that is stuck in your tire just by looking at your tires, you know, rotating it a little bit, or maybe just driving your car forward just a tiny bit and then looking at your tires, trying to find that nail. So here's what I usually do with a nail. So if I can see it, then obviously I just spray at the nail, see if it leaks. Sometimes it won't even leak. Sometimes you gotta pull the nail out first and then it'll actually start leaking. Sometimes you won't be able to find the nail. What I do at that point is I'll spray the whole tire down. I'll wait a little bit, like maybe like a minute or two. You're gonna look for areas that bubble up, kind of like this right here. You see this nail right here? This is what I would consider a slow leak. You see how it's foaming? I'll spray it down, and in a few seconds, you see it starts foaming up. And now this will become very obvious to you if you let your tire sit for a bit. You'll see that. You'll be like, okay, that's the leak right there. Other times, you'll have a fast leak. This is what a fast leak looks like. It has bigger bubbles. It's more obvious to catch this type of leak because, you know, it's right there. Like, if you can't see this, you're basically blind. So if you can't find it at all, you can always increase the tire pressure. I don't recommend going more than 40-45 psi. You can increase it so that air will rush out of the leak much faster and you'll be able to catch it that way. Once you find this, now you got two options to repair this. You can either patch your tire or you can plug your tire. Tire patching is more secure. It's the proper way in my eyes to do it, but it's inconvenient for a lot of people because you're gonna have to separate the tire from the rim, meaning you might have to go to a shop. You know, that's just how it is. It is more secure because what you're doing is you're actually taking the tire off the rim, finding the leak from the inside, and you're going to buff it out. You're going to prep that area, and you're going to put a patch, which is what's gonna seal that off. You have to stitch it with a stitching tool, and then basically mount the rim back and check for leaks again. And usually this is the proper way to do things, but a tire plug is what most people use, and it's more convenient because you can do it with your tire still on your car. It's a lot cheaper as well. So with a tire plug, you're fixing it from the outside. So what you're doing is you're using, you're gonna need a tire plug kit. This is what a tire plug kit looks like. This one's a little bit more expensive, like 30 bucks, but you can get these for like $10. But what you're gonna get in here is you're gonna get the actual tire plug tool. You see right here, you see where that, stop, focus, there, you see that? That right there is where the actual tire plug goes through. Here are the tire plugs. You would just take one of these, put it in here, and then that's what you put in the tire. And you also get a reamer. This reamer right here, focus, man, just come on, focus. There you go. You see that right there? That's a reamer. So basically, when you're plugging the tire, you take the object out of the tire first. Then you use this, right? Also, I would recommend wearing glasses. You don't want, you know, shit in your eyes. But you want to use this reamer tool. It's very, very important. Now, this is also good for stabbing people, but this is mainly used for fixing tires. This right here will open up the hole. It will allow you to plug it a lot easier. This right here, also, when you insert it into the hole, it will show you what angle you want to be, you know, going in at, so that when you're using this, you're comfortable with going in at that angle. It makes it easier for you to plug that tire. So with this, I usually put a little bit of lube on it. Everything goes in better with lube. Stop thinking like that, you're a pervert. Use this first, tire plug tool with a tire plug in it, and you just shove it in. Now you don't want to push this in all the way because you can actually insert the whole tire plug into the tire, and you just want to get it in, most of it, so that, you know, it's blocking the hole. And then I just cut it flush and you're good to go. Always check to make sure the leak is fixed. What you do is the same thing with the soap and water. You spray it on that area after you fixed it and see if it's leaking from there again. If it's not, then you did a good job. That's how you fix a nail in your tire or anything that really pierces it. Now the next type of tire leak you might find is a rim leak. This usually happens when your rims are old. What will happen is they'll start to leak from where the rim meets the tire. So that right there, that's a seal, and it will actually leak from there. For this type of leak, you have to take the tire off the rim. Once you get that off, you'll see that there's corrosion. In this example, you see the corrosion here. This tire is never going to sit and seal properly against this rim because there's high and low spots because of this corrosion. And so the fix here is you have to make that area smooth again. So I use a grinder with a soft disc, and I go around the rim seat, both sides as well, the top and bottom, and make sure it's smooth. And I usually run my finger across it, make sure it's all nice and smooth. And so that way I know when I put this tire back on, it'll be good. Even the tire, when you're looking at the tire, you might find that corrosion is going to be stuck on the tire bead. The tire bead area, you see right here, that's exactly what pushes up against the rim. So you have to clean that as well. I like to put some sort of tire lube onto the actual rim seat. You can see this technician here is using bead sealer. Me personally, I don't like to use bead sealer because it does become into like a rubbery material, and like there will be high and low spots even with bead sealer if you don't put like a thin layer. So I just like to use some sort of tire lube, go around the areas, and then put the tire back on and then check it. Again, always we're checking if it's fixed, and if it's not leaking anymore, then congratulations, you fixed that as well. So that's how you fix a rim leak. Now you can also get a leak from your tire valve or tire stem. And now there's two types that you might have. You might have a conventional rubber tire stem, or you might have a tire sensor. Both of those can leak. So the most common style is the rubber style, and that will leak because it's made of rubber, and rubber will just deteriorate and it will get brittle and weak over time. And you can see here it starts to crack. Eventually it will rip and leak. You see here is a slow leak. Remember, like I said, it'll be all foamy. And then you have one that's a lot more faster. It's just shooting out air, and that tire is gonna go flat pretty quickly. With this type of leak, you're gonna have to take the tire apart again and replace the valve. Now the rubber ones are fairly cheap, so it's not expensive. It's only expensive because of the labor. I use side cutters. I cut the bottom of it and then pull it up from the top. And this area right here, it's very good to clean it because that's what the tire stem is going through. So if that area is dirty as well, it's not going to sit properly. So we clean that off. Just use a little bit of sandpaper and clean this off, and so it's smooth again. And then you can insert a new tire stem. You gotta use a special tool made for this. It threads on, and you just pull it up, and there you go. You put in a new tire valve, you fix that. So we talked about this tire stem, the rubber one. Now we're going to talk about the tire sensor. So this right here, the way it actually goes on is you can see this little cap right here. It actually threads off. Once you get that off, the way you install this is you actually insert this into the rim first, and after that you go from the top, and then you will tighten this on. So you can already tell if this is what clamps this onto the rim, and if this is left a little loose, you're gonna have a leak from right here. So what you can do is you can spray around the sensor and see if it starts to bubble up around here, and if it does, then what you can try first is you can see if it's loose. Then you can just try tightening it a little bit more. You're supposed to put a socket onto here and a ratchet, and then you can just tighten it. Then you can check again, and if it still leaks, then you can take this off and inspect this area. You see right here, you can inspect it and try to see if it's dirty or corroded, and try to clean that off. Try to tighten it again and then check again. If it's still leaking, then you want to check the hole that this goes through and see if that's dirty, because if that's not clean and not smooth, then this isn't going to sit inside of there properly, and it's not going to be able to be clamped on and sealed off if there's corrosion around that hole where the actual stem is supposed to go through. So you can try all those things and see if it fixes it. Let's just assume that you don't have a leak here, right? You can also get a leak inside here, because if you open this up, you can actually see that the valve is inside of here. You see that valve? You're gonna need a special tool for that, and that's what I have right here. So teeth of the tool, they go in like this, and I can thread this out, and out comes the valve. Now this is the valve which goes inside of here, so this can also leak. The job of this valve, this is called a Schrader valve, is to open. If I press on this, you see how it opens up? Try to get that focus on point. You see if I press on this part, it opens up. See that? You see how it opens up? So when I press on it, I can now put air into the tire. But as soon as I let go, it closes off. You see? As soon as I let go, it closes. It goes back to its normally closed position. So if this is corroded heavily, then when it returns back to its position, it might actually be open a little bit. And if it's open a little bit, that means air can now leave the tire. So then this will start bubbling up inside here with the valve in it, obviously. So what you can try is, you can try to tighten this with this tool, and then spray it in here and check if that fixed it. If it didn't, then there's a good chance you're gonna have to replace that valve. Even with the rubber style ones, you still have that same Schrader valve inside. You see that? It's the same concept. So, and another thing you guys should know is these caps on these sensors, they're made of plastic, right? This is like an aluminum body. This is a plastic cap. This isn't gonna corrode. This is safe to use on these tire sensors. But what some people do is they change out these caps, right? They want to put a little aftermarket cap on, and they will put on a chrome cap, which is really bad for these. This is a big no-no. You don't want to put these chrome caps on because you're gonna corrode the hell out of these tire sensors. And what's gonna happen first is these threads are gonna be heavily corroded, and you're gonna have a hard time taking the cap off. And sometimes people actually snap the actual stem trying to take the cap off because it's on there that tight. And then second, all that corrosion actually finds its way down into the valve. So when it gets into the valve, it messes everything up. That's where it can get stuck open a little bit, and then you got issues in there. So the cap actually matters. I like to put the plastic ones on. That's about it. So yeah, those are like the most common types of tire leaks that you're probably going to run into. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you guys did learn something. That's the most important part. And if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed this time that you spent with me, then hit the subscribe button and also leave a like. It makes me happy. It makes me smile in the morning when I see that a person has liked my videos. So please do that. If you don't do that, then remember this.